Yo, hola, amigos, players, playerettes, dudettes, everybody in between. Get ready for another exciting episode of the podcast you cannot afford to miss because we do such great stuff. Welcome to The Game of Crimes. I'm literally here. I'm Morgan, as you guys figured that out, the most underrated spokesmodel for Tommy Bahama and brand ambassador, along with my partner in crime.
Hey, everybody, it's Murph. Welcome back.
And hey, once again, thank you guys for joining us. This is going to be a great episode. We'll tell you about it here in a second, but we got to get the housekeeping, the small talk out of the way real quick. Hey, head on over to that Apple, Spotify, hit those 5 stars, really helps us. It exposes people to it when you share it and you write good things. If you like it, let us know. And if you don't, let us know that too. Just be constructive in your comments. Tell us, here's what I like, here's what I didn't like, and here's why. And we've made lots of adjustment based upon feedback from you guys. So we really appreciate it. Also, head on over to our website, gameofcrimespodcast.com. Actually, some of the pictures for this episode are going to be listed there when we tell you about TJ Webb, episode 90. So go on over there and see some of his just amazing pictures. We put the books up there. I think I was trying to count how many books we had, Murph, but I think it's like 60 books now or something.
Holy cow. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, especially for us.
Everybody's writing a book.
Everybody's writing a book. We're writing books about writing books. But go ahead on over there. Also follow us on that thing called social media at Game of Crimes on Twitter, Game of Crimes Podcast on Facebook and the Instagram. But I'm telling you, this is where you got to be. We just finished 2 episodes for our Patreon channel, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. And we just did Case of the Month, where we kind of split it up between Alex Murdaugh, the trial, but some interesting tidbits about that. We get into some of the technology used to really nail down a story. And then we talk about something, Murph, you were doing. I mean, you've done how many interviews now on the kidnapped people down in Mexico?
4 or 5, and we got another one coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But it's the 4 Americans that were kidnapped down in Matamoros, Mexico.
And if you want to hear what we have to say about it, where do they got to go, Murph?
You got to go to Patreon. Patreon/Game of Crimes. It's
patreon.com/Game of Crimes. If you just go to Patreon/Game of Crimes, the web's not going to take you there.
Okay. So there you go. Now you know where to go. But you got to come over and check it out. We've got more content on Patreon, I think, than we do. I think we've done more on Patreon than we've done 90 episodes of Game of Crimes.
Yeah, we have hundreds of hours between the 2 of them. Literally, like the Valley girls say, literally hundreds of hours. Good stuff over there. So, and look, but this one too, we get into some details. You got some good insights on the kidnapping stuff, and we have a solution. If you want to hear what Murph and Morgan's solution is, you got to tune in, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. Now,
you might not like our solution, but hey, we're offering one.
It's a solution, trust me. And there's precedent for how it would work, and the cartels have already responded to what the potential solution might be based on their actions. But we give you all that insight at patreon.com/Game of Crimes. Now, this is a show about crime. We talk about bad people doing bad things and bad people doing bad things to good people. We take the story seriously, but
we never take ourselves serious. You got to remember where you came from, and we're here to have some fun.
And one of the ways you have fun is you go over to our Game of Crimes fans. Just go to Facebook, type in Game of Crimes fans. It's run by our favorite mafia queen, Sandy Salvato. If you are deemed worthy of entry, just get even in the ballpark. Just make the effort to answer just a couple questions. You're going to get in, and we do. And by the way, I will tell you, some of our episodes, some of our stories have come from you, our players on Game of Crimes.
Yeah. You know what? And give us a rating on there too. I'm looking at some of the charts now, and we get very, very few comments. We want to use your comments to try to entice other people to come over and listen to the show. So let us know what you think. And if we're doing stuff you don't like, tell us. This is all about entertaining you.
Yeah, and if you feel the need, send an email to gameofcrimespodcast@gmail.com and give us some additional thoughts. So do that. Yeah. But in the meantime, Murph,
it's time.
Speaking of time, guess what time it is?
It's time for Small Town Police Blotters.
Hey, I decided I would pick on Lower Alabama today. Alabama, the state of Alabama. We're picking on Alabama today.
We're going to L.A. Lower
Alabama. You ready?
All right. I'm ready.
All right. Jeremy Branch, Steve, a 40-year-old from Chickasaw, Alabama, was out on bond after being charged with a January armed robbery of the Singing River Credit Union in Moss Point. Moss Point, population 12,147. Salute. Then in March, he reportedly robbed the Navigator Credit Union on Highway 614 in the Hurley community. Now, At the time of the March robbery in Hurley, however, no one was able to identify him because he was wearing a hat. This goes back to our advice you gave on our Game of Crimes episode we just did for You Can't Make This Shit Up. Hoodie and face covering. So although he was facing charges from the January robbery, it appeared he would get away with the Navigator robbery until Thursday, when Branch, clearly a criminal mastermind, apparently decided since he got away with robbing the Hurley Credit Union once, he could do it again. However, this time, as in the March robbery, he was wearing a face covering when he walked into the Navigator Credit Union, but this time the neighboring business owners recognized the white pickup truck he was driving and dialed 911. Here's the great thing, Murph. He was still on the scene when deputies arrived. He was searched and a note was found in his pocket which claimed he had a weapon. A similar note was also used in the March robbery, so now he's charged with that crime as well. A note was also used in the January robbery, and he was again charged. So if you're keeping score, in the course of one day, Branch went from being charged with 1 bank robbery in January to now 3 bank robberies. He's 0-3.
It's not like that movie Home Alone where those two criminals would always leave the water running. They want to be known as the wet bandits.
The wet bandits.
You don't want to establish a repetitive pattern like that, you idiot.
No, you don't. But here's a repetitive pattern. We have stupid criminals. That's why it's called Small Town Police Spotter. Start with 64-year-old Robert Wesley Richardson of Warrior, Alabama, population 3,234. Salute. That lewd dude was subdued nude. That's the actual writing. As he streaked, wandered really toward Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies. This dude reportedly roughed up his wife and grandkids, then pointed a gun at deputies before he finally emerged. He came forth wearing only his glasses and wielding a cup of coffee. Cops at first saw his surrender as good news until I could just see our guys saying, "Get him." "No, you get him," Chief Deputy Randy Christian said. They had to tase him in the end. Not exactly in the end. In the end, they had to tase him. And as Christian said, they had to take careful aim.
Oh, that's funny. Turn around. We're going to shoot you in the ass.
Going to shoot you in the ass, boy. Come here, you dumbass. Hey, speaking of dumbass, you want to find out why dumbass is so good, you got to listen to You Can't Make This Shit Up. Shameless plug for patreon.com/Game of Crimes. Now,
there you go.
Murph, on Tuesday, a woman in Morris, Alabama, population 2,254. Salute. She is not destined to be she's destined to be a career criminal, just not a criminal mastermind. She broke at least 2 of the cardinal rules of arson. First, she brought a 3-year-old girl who didn't belong to her to the commission of a dangerous felony, which was arson. She splashed gas inside her estranged husband's travel trailer and tossed the match. You know what her one flaw in the plan was, Murph?
What?
She was still inside when she threw the match.
Well, I hope the 3-year-old wasn't with her.
Well, she was with her. She owned up to all she'd done because she drove to a fire station for treatment of her burns.
Did the 3-year-old get hurt?
No, not according to this. But turns out she was ticked at her husband in the hospital recovering from heart surgery because he had taken other women to the trailer. So she's going to burn it down with herself inside of it. Way to go,
idiot.
Nah. By the way, yeah, idiot. And let's finish up now with stupid news, stupid Alabama laws. I like Sandy Salvato keeps tagging us on stupid news. Well, these are stupid laws. Steve, in the state of Alabama, it is illegal to wear a fake mustache in church because it could cause laughter.
Hey, it is the Bible Belt. What can we say?
It's illegal to put ice cream in your back pocket.
Well, I would agree with that.
In Mobile, not mobile, but Mobile, it is illegal to spray silly string and spit orange peels onto the sidewalk.
Do you have to do them both at the same time, or are they illegal separately?
Separate offenses. Yeah.
Okay.
Good thing to know. I was thinking about doing both, but apparently I can do one or the other. I didn't realize this. I don't think this law is on the books, but at one point, putting salt on a railroad track could be punishable by death.
Really? What's that got to do with anything?
Steve, it's Alabama. You got your answer. Here's one, too. This is amazing. It is illegal for a driver to be blindfolded while operating a vehicle.
I thought that went without saying.
It's Alabama.
Hey, I got family and friends, a lot of good friends down in Alabama, so...
And here's one law that has not been taken off the books, and you'll understand why it should have been a long time ago. It's legal to drive down a one-way street in the wrong direction if you have a lantern attached to to your vehicle.
Well, there you go. So, you know what? We ought to test that. We ought to drive down the street with a lantern, going the wrong way on a one-way street, and then go to court. I don't think so.
You try that, Skippy. I'm going to just take a pass on that.
Yeah, I'm going to accept what you say, and let's move on.
Speaking of moving on, let's move on. So, folks, thus endeth the reading for today. Hey, this is interesting, too. We've got a real stud coming up. And this one actually came to us from Brooke Wyatt. Brooke is a listener as well as a patron, a player on Patreon. And she sent us this message. We've been working on this for a while. Says, hey, Morgan, got an idea for a new interview. TJ Webb was a Milford police officer who was part of the U.S. Marshals Task Force and was shot in the line of duty in December of 2020. Great guy and might be a good interview. You're absolutely right. Brooke Wyatt. Oh. He was a great interview. He is a great interview. And that's your interview coming up. TJ, it's a story of staying in the fight, man. This dude is shot 6 times. We're going to get into that. In the blink of an eye, 2 seconds, life changes dramatically for this guy. But Steve, we may have the person who was his inspiration in the hospital. You reached out to him. Initials are JR. Remember that? The SEAL, the guy who was also shot? Oh, I don't want to give away too much because we've saved a clip of this interview for when we interview this next guy, because this other guy was the inspiration for TJ recovering. You just got to hear when he talks about putting the sign on his door, what his mental state is about recovering from something that would keep other people in a bed or maybe even a wheelchair for the rest of their life.
And JR, who we'll leave it at that for now, has agreed to be a guest on Game of Crimes down the road here. So this is TJ's story is one of the most inspirational I've ever had. I had tears rolling down my cheeks as he's telling the story, and I think you probably will too. I was going through physical therapy the day that we finished his interview. I had to go to physical therapy, and I went in with a completely different attitude because of TJ Webb's story and the way he handled the outcome. So this is you got to listen to this one. I've been teasing this one to anybody that I can. Of all the stories we've had, and we've had some fantastic stories on here, this is maybe the most motivational story I've heard so far.
Well, there's only one way to find out if it is, and I've got to ask you, Murph, are you ready to play the biggest, baddest, most dangerous game of all, the Game of Crimes?
Oh, and as the students at New England College heard over and over and over again the last few days, get in, sit down, shut up, and hold on. And I'm serious about this one. Let's listen. You got to listen to TJ's story. This is fantastic.
Well, hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be yet another exciting and epic episode, one that will go down in history. Why? Because Murph and I have actually made it through, it's going to be probably over 90 episodes now, and we're both still alive.
Woo-hoo.
So, and by the way, our next guest is also alive. This is going to be this is going to be a great story. Number one, because it's state and local. We've had plenty of feds on in a row. We thought we needed to break it up. So Murph did a good job. He went out and found a real hero from the state and local ranks. But here's what's going to be fun about this. We were just talking shit right before we came on. So it's like, we're going to have
to do that.
Yeah, we never, but we're going to talk to TJ Webb from Milford, Delaware. And Murph, you found him. How'd you find him?
Well, actually, I went back and looked at my notes. And when I called TJ the other day, or I think you called me to start with, after an email and text and LinkedIn, and I was pulling out all the stops trying to get a hold of you, and he answered almost immediately. I looked down at my notes, and it was somebody, you found TJ, somebody recommended him to you, and you told me about it. And I was going through, we've still got a list of, I don't know, 75, 100 names. Yeah, it's a long list. And I thought, man.
It's long and distinguished, like my Johnson, that named the movie.
Oh, gosh.
The original Top Gun.
I just got an image in my mind that's not going to go away for like 3 days now. I think, guys, y'all might have to excuse me. I'm going to go throw up just a second. Okay.
Well, let's get to the intro. Come on.
I'm sorry. Anyway, you folks out there, our listeners, you've heard so many stories of heroes out there that have been wounded in the line of duty, including my partner, Kevin Stevens, back in 1989 in Miami, where he got hit twice with a .45 caliber, and unfortunately the foreman was shot in the throat with the .357, didn't make it. And we bring these on because these are true freaking heroes. That's the whole purpose. We're not trying to gross anybody out. We want you to know, and most of you already know this, but if you're new to the Game of Crimes, We want you to know what's really going on out there on the street. That's why we bring the guests on to tell their stories. We don't go talk to these people and then try to tell their stories. We want you to hear it from the horse's mouth. And so today we got a man that I'm not going to tell too much about him because he's going to tell us all, but shot 6 times trying to effect an attempted murder arrest, survived. We're going to get into your recovery and what you're doing now, TJ, because and I'll just say this. Running a marathon, I usually don't even drive a car that far. So the fact of me running one ain't going to happen. So that's just a clue of where TJ is now. So it's our honor and pleasure to have TJ Webb on here. Welcome, brother.
Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Speaking of marathon, when I came down to visit you there in Orlando here a couple of weeks ago, it took you about that long in your walker to get from your chair to the front door to let me in.
Hey, I had calluses on my hands from using that damn thing. They're just now starting to come off.
Well, hey, TJ, first of all, welcome. By the way, the biggest mystery, what the hell does TJ stand for?
Tim Jr.
Tim Jr. All right.
Don't they usually put Junior after the name, like Tim Webb Jr.?
Yeah, it's my name is Timothy Dale Webb Jr. So I go by TJ, Tim Jr. Yeah.
Hey,
okay.
That's better than BJ.
It is better than BJ.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, that is a chain of stores. There's nothing wrong with BJ's.
BJ's Warehouse. That's
BJ's Warehouse. Okay. Well, look. First of all, we want to get started talking with you. You are located in Milford, Delaware. Give everybody first of an idea. Where is the great city of Milford, Delaware located at? Other than we know it's in Delaware. Don't go that.
So So city of Milford's about hour and a half south of Philly, 2 hours east of Baltimore, right in the center of the state.
So how close? Well, the state's kind of small. So how close does that make it to the water?
10 minutes.
If you head eastbound, yeah, you're in the Atlantic in like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the population of Milford?
I'd say somewhere around 12 to 15,000.
Okay.
I think our department's probably around 37, 38. Yeah.
Cool.
I started out on a department probably before you were born, TJ, 1975 in Bluefield, West Virginia.
Yeah.
35-man department.
I started off Salina PD. It was probably 50 or 60. It was a town of 50,000 at the time. So, but yeah, we all start off. Murphy, I don't know where you went wrong going to the feds, but well,
I got investigated by him so many times. I thought, well, hell, why don't I just join him?
Before Murph got on DEA, he had 3 FBI investigations?
I did. I'm still a free man.
Still a free. Hallelujah. So, let's talk about you, TJ. Let's talk about how did you get started? As we always ask everybody, thing of ours, Cosa Nostra. I mean, were you woke up one night and you're on the wrong side of the bars? You go, hey, it's much funner on the other side, and so this is what got you started. What got you into this thing we call the profession of law enforcement?
Growing up, it kind of always interested me a little bit. My parents, they were not in law enforcement, but they had friends that were, so I was around a lot of police officers growing up.
Where'd you grow up at?
Right in Milford.
Okay.
Born and raised, right where I work at.
Hometown boy. Okay.
Hometown boy. Yep. And then as I got older and went through high school, I really didn't have any other interest. So I thought, well, you know what? I want to give this a try and see how it goes. So after high school, spent a little time at community college and started applying and ended up getting hired.
Hold on. You just don't spend a little time at community college. There's a story there. So it sounds like I was doing time. I did 8 months on the inside. So
I did about a year at community college, and I was like, you know what? This just isn't my ticket.
What were you studying?
Criminal justice.
Not my thing. And then what does he do? He becomes a cop.
Yeah, school, man. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And at the time, I was.
Was it grades or partying that got you out of there?
It's probably the combination of the two. But at the time, I was 18, 19. So I was. They have a program out here, like the beach towns, for their police departments, called seasonal police officers. So you're not armed, but you go out and you can enforce certain things. So I was doing that to keep my interest in it and to see how much I really wanted to do it.
What was that, like Rehoboth Beach or?
I started in Dewey Beach.
Okay.
Started in Dewey Beach, so I was a seasonal officer there for about 3 years, and then
give us an idea real quick. When they say seasonal, like how big was the force? And then when they brought in because I have friends of mine that were chief at Martha's Vineyard, they did the same thing, Ocean City, Maryland. So how big would you go from?
The department with full-time officers was about 10. And then in the summertime, you would probably have about 40 seasonal officers. It was pretty big because Dewey Beach is it's known as a party town.
Yeah.
So they needed a lot of hands on deck there.
So
that's what, if you remember, Chris Feistel started out as a part-time police officer like that.
Yeah, Chris was one of the guys that. Yeah, Chris was one of him and Dave Mitchell brought down the Cali cartel after Murph and JP took out Pablo. By the way, spoiler alert: Pablo's dead. He's room temperature. In case any of you guys are going to watch Narcos and wondering about the suspenseful ending, not going to happen. But so tell us about the seasonal stuff. So, what age did you have to be a seasonal police officer?
I want to say, I think you could start at 17 doing like parking enforcement, I think. But I think pretty much 18 is what you had to be. And you could do like simple misdemeanor arrest, things like that. Nothing too great. No felony arrest or anything like that.
So were you more like Paul Blart, mall cop? I mean, you had the light blue uniform.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you look like running around. You look like a security guard running around, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you had shorts on though, right? You guys got to wear shorts?
No. Well, the bicycle guys did. They had it nice. And if you worked day shift, you had shorts. If you worked at night, you had regular duty pants.
Did you have a Segway to ride around on?
No, we didn't have Segways back then. This is like I don't know if they had them then. This is like going back 2000, 2001, something like that.
So what did they give you? Did you have mace? They give you a billy club?
You had capstun, you had a baton, and you had a radio.
And handcuffs? Did you have handcuffs?
And handcuffs, yeah. And handcuffs. So then you had foot patrol, bicycle patrol, and then we had the paddy wagon. So that was a good job.
Now, did you get assigned there or did you volunteer for those duties?
You got assigned to them.
So where'd you get assigned?
I started out on foot patrol, and then I moved to the paddy wagon. Spent 3 years.
And you smile when you say that.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Let's okay. See, you were just going to talk about and blow past this. No, this is the goal.
This is before you got married, right?
Oh yeah. Way before that.
So now tell us what you did in the back of the paddy wagon. Why are you smiling?
Well, I didn't get quite that far, but it was a good time.
No, that is not a sufficient answer. Let's talk about a couple of your fondest memories of the paddy wagon. What are a couple incidents that happened that make you smile when you say paddy wagon?
Nothing particular, but you do have a lot. It's a lot of fun because you're picking up drunks all night. You know what I mean? You know how it is when you pick up a drunk; they're just stumbling and bumbling all over the place. So it makes it interesting, Well,
either they want to fight or throw up on you, or they're in love with you.
Usually they throw up on you. Once in a while you'll get one who wants to tussle, but it's not that hard. I do have a funny story from working there because I went through the academy for Dewey Beach. That's actually where I started my career. So I do have a funny story from there if you want to hear it.
Sure.
Why would we want to hear a funny story? I mean, let's talk about boring stuff.
We've got Morgan on here. It's all about funny stories.
So I went to Delaware State Police Academy in 2003, graduated in February 2004. So that following winter of 2004. So I had not even a year out of the academy. So in the wintertime, the town gets pretty quiet. There's not really anybody there because it's a vacation town. So I and like I said, there's about 10 officers. So you work pretty much one-man shifts. You're working by yourself. So I get a complaint one night. The mayor called and said the house across the street was having a loud party. They need to get turned down. Okay, sure. So I'm going over there. So I head on over to this house, make contact at the door. I can hear them from inside. They open the door up, and it's a house full of young girls, right? Probably in 20s.
It's getting better already.
That's getting better. So the first thing I notice is they don't speak a lick of English.
Where are they from?
They were all Russian.
You said Ochembriana Davarish.
Yes, yeah. They get a lot of Europeans for with visa work and stuff in the summer.
Okay. Hold on. They get a lot of them. What kind of work are they doing? Because I know some of it may be the hospitality industry, and we have to be.
There is some of that. There is some hospitality work going on. A lot of them work at the bars. Work in the bar, servers and whatnot.
Well, how does that work if they don't speak a lick of English?
I don't know. They make it work somehow. I don't.
Some things are universal.
Yes, they are.
Yes. In the hospitality business, yes. So I'm making contact with this door. They open the door up, and the first thing they do is they grab me and pull me in. And I hear one English word, and it's stripper, right? So
was that them or you?
That was them. So they grabbed me, pulled me in this house, and next thing you know, I don't know how many girls there were. There was a shit ton. They're all grabbing me, pulling me around, trying to rip my shirt off. Right? I got buttons popping off my fucking shirt. It's crazy. I don't know what the hell to do. I'm like 21 years old. I don't know what's going on.
I noticed you didn't say you called for help. You didn't call for help yet, did you?
Well, no. I couldn't get to the radio. I couldn't get to it.
Right. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I can't reach my pterodactyl arms. Can't reach my radio.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. So they're steady ripping all this shit off of me, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, man, I'm not trying to get in trouble here. You know what I mean? So I'm screaming, no, I'm the police. No one's listening or no one understands, whichever it is. So I finally forced my way back over to the door, open it up, and start pointing at my car. And then all of a sudden it gets real quiet, and they just ease back into the house and close the door, right? So now I'm like, just tell me they're going. I just hope they turn this shit down, right? So the music comes down, and I'm like, all right, the music's down, it's quiet. I'm getting the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So I leave.
Do you have to go replace your uniform shirt now?
I had to go replace some buttons on because they're like snap-on buttons, So I had to replace some buttons. So I go back to the PD, and I'm like logging in some of the information in the complaint log for like shift change and stuff. You know what I mean? So shift change in the morning comes. The guy comes in to relieve me. I'm telling him about it, and he's like, "Oh man, it's crazy," And I got some of certain things written down in the pass along log. Well, that morning after I left, the local reporter came in from the local paper. And he goes through like the complaints from every weekend and every night and all that kind of stuff. So he gets to this one. Then he starts asking the other cops some questions. So he's like, "Oh man, you should hear this story." He tells him all about it, right? Sure enough, like 2 days later, it's in the local paper, like stripper cop. And the whole thing is in the paper, right? So then now I got like Chippendale's pictures going up around the PD with my business card on it.
See, you started an internet meme before there were internet memes. I'm telling you, man.
I still have the newspaper article. It's hilarious. And then the following summer, there were like 3 or 4 incidences where I went somewhere and someone recognized my name and referred to me as a stripper cop. So that's my story. Yeah.
I got to tell you,
that's a great story, though, man.
It was pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I had a tag on my Expedition. I need to put it on my new vehicle. But you get the National Law Enforcement Officers tag, and I put KS space TRPR, Kansas Trooper. Walked into Starbucks one day. One of the guys goes, "Hey, are you K-Stripper?"
Why, yes, I am.
That's me.
That's me. Oh, I tell you. So, did you ever run into those Russian ladies later?
I don't think so. I don't know if they stayed or left or what. I didn't recognize.
Here's the amazing thing. It makes you wonder, they go stripper. Did somebody arrange for a stripper and you showed up instead? I mean,
that's what I'm assuming.
Okay, because otherwise, normally it's not normal to open up the door, see a cop in uniform, and go, "Oh, stripper, comrade."
I'm assuming they had one on order and they were waiting for the arrival. But I didn't get the chance to ask. I just got the hell out of there. You know what I mean? So
and not once did you call for help, did you?
No, I couldn't get to the radio, man.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It was all good.
I'm sorry, how long did it take you to extricate yourself from this obviously dangerous situation?
3 days.
Yeah.
Anybody saying, PJ, where's his car?
I mean, it was less than a minute.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're lucky. Most guys, it's 3 minutes. Okay, very good.
Yeah, I'm not that lucky.
So
that's one of the better stories we've had on here.
It's pretty good. I don't, you're probably the first ones like, as far as like podcast interviews, you're the first ones I've told that to. I think it's pretty good.
Hey, we're breaking new ground here. Damn, I can't even.
We specialize in this. We're trained criminal investigators. We drag stories. You see, that's when you started going blah blah blah. And then I was so we've established that you were a criminal justice major in college, and this wasn't your bag, baby. You work seasonal work, go to work at Dewey Beach, and the first thing that happens is you turn into a stripping sensation in the town.
I'm telling you, overnight sensation. It was it.
That's the legacy.
We would have bypassed all of that if we had just allowed you to go blah and then blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We don't do blah, blah, blah here. So, but we still haven't kind of concluded the seasonal work. So you're talking about the paddy wagon. What was one or two of the most interesting stories from your paddy wagon days?
I mean, I'll say a really bad one was I was driving that one night and got called to this like little strip mall restaurant there.
See, strip seems to figure into a lot of your vocabulary.
Conversation. It's in his vocabulary.
Yeah, it comes up. It comes up. But so they called and said the guy was passed out, like leaning against the wall. I'm like, okay, let's same old, same old. So we head on over there. This guy is passed out, standing up, leaning against this wall. He's got his pants down, and as he's passed out, standing up with his pants down, he's defecating himself. All over the place.
Oh, was his name Kevin Black?
No, it was
you
not.
have to listen to our previous episode. Sorry about that, Kevin.
Man. So yeah, he's passed out. So and now at this point, I'm one of the more senior seasonal officers, right? So I'm not dealing with this dude. So I get some of the guys on foot patrol to come pick this guy up and throw him and climb him in the back of the wagon. So they haul him in the back of the wagon. We take him back to the PD and unload him. And I'm like, he ain't going to my cell block. I can tell you that. So we drag him out, make sure he's good to go, make sure he's not, any medical danger or anything like that, obviously. And all the right moves. And finally he had a cell phone on him. So we went through his last number on his cell phone, which ended up being his girlfriend, and called it. So she came and picked him up. But man, that was a good one. That was a good one. It was nasty, but it was funny, man.
And see, back in those days too, did you guys walk around with your, everybody's got the PPE now, like the gloves and the other stuff, but did you even have gloves back then to deal with this guy?
Man, we had like the old copper, like leather gloves. Remember them? The old leather gloves everybody used to wear, like from Gulls. Remember them?
Oh, yeah.
We had those ones, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the problem. If you get crap all over your gloves are no good.
Yeah, they're done. They're done. Yeah, they're done.
They stink.
They're done. Yeah, we didn't have the latex ones. Nobody carried latex gloves back then. You know what I mean? Except for like EMS.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that stripper guy had a few things that were latex. You could have borrowed from him. So
he probably had some rubbers. Yeah, he probably had some rubbers for sure.
Put those on over your hands. It would look like Muppets when you do that.
You look like mittens.
Oh man,
those are funny looking mittens. They're transparent.
Hey man, man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Why are they purple and have little bumps on them? What's that all about?
Hey, but
boy, this conversation has gone down very quickly.
Good times.
People would expect no less at this point when you start off with the stripper story. But kind of let me circle back around too. I mean, there's some funny things, but because you guys were unarmed, did you guys run into? Was everything okay, or did you have a couple situations to where it's like shit? Somebody's got a knife or somebody's got a gun, and you feel like that. You feel like an English Bobby now, to where you're unarmed and they are.
No, luckily, I mean, back then, we never ran into anything with weapons or anything. It was mostly just people wanting to fist fight you, or resist. That's all pretty much all it was, thankfully. Never ran into any guns or knives or anything like that. I mean, people might have some pocket knives on them, but they never pulled them out,
Yeah.
Like I said, it was mostly like drunk college kids in the summertime, so they wasn't a big problem.
My favorite saying of my buddy, that was he just retired as the police chief of Martha's Vineyard. The favorite saying was, "Come on vacation, leave on probation."
Yeah, we used to say that too. Yeah, we used to say that too.
And return on violation. So
that's funny.
Well, but Dewey Beach was the first sworn position you had, right? Badge carrying, gun carrying cop position. So, what was that? How long were you at Dewey Beach, and what was that like working when you were the only guy out for the town?
Oh man, I mean, it was fun in the summertime. It was fun, but in the wintertime, man, it was. I mean, I was 3 months out of the year. The rest of the year, you're going nuts. You know what I mean? I was 21 out of the academy, 22 out of the academy, and I was wanting to get into stuff. I loved it there. The guys I worked with are great. The town was great, but I wanted more. So I was there for about 2 years, and then I got out.
So,
yeah, it gets boring. I mean, you're doing parking complaints, barking dogs.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing too is that anything that moves, you're attacking. It's like if it's moving,
man. Yeah, you get one car come through at 1 a.m. You're like, I gotta find something to stop this thing. You know what I mean?
Why are they up at 1 a.m.?
Right, it's brutal, man.
That's reasonable suspicion. I can pull him over. He looked at me funny.
That's lurking with intent to gawk.
Yeah, we used to joke too. We had a couple counties in Kansas. Kansas used to have the license plate had the county, like SA for Saline County, or WY for Wyandotte County, then a letter like C and then the plate number. Well, it got to the point we almost considered it even above reasonable. If you had a Wyandotte County tag in our area, that was probable cause to stop and arrest.
Yeah.
So during that time, what was the stock and trade of the type of calls you handled other than the 3 months of the year? The 9 months of the year, you said you were bored to death. Was it just like you'd go nights and there's just nothing happening?
Oh, you go most nights and nothing's happening. You go out and do your property checks that you would be required to do. Other than that, it'd be like a random residential alarm might go off, or a lot of assisting. You would assist like state police with traffic stops, or if another town nearby had something, you go back them up on it. But other than that, you didn't have much complaints because nobody really lived there full time. I mean, you only had a few full time residents, like maybe 10.
Was there anything
the town was
open?
only a mile long.
Yeah, I know, like in Martha's Vineyard and over in Nantucket. I mean, you're right. I mean, as things closed down, our favorite time was to go kind of like after everybody had left, but some of the restaurants or stores was still open. But what were the things that were open year round? There in Dewey Beach.
On the weekends, you'd have 1 or 2 bars open. That's it. That's it. 1 or 2 bars on the weekend. That was it. Yeah. I mean, it's different now. Things there are open year round now. Because we're going back, 20 years. So it's a little different. It's a lot more lively now year round. But back then it shut down in the wintertime.
So, but when it started getting to be those 3 months, what was life like with your seasonal officers? Because you used to be one, and now you're a patrol officer. So, what was life like once the town came to life for the summer?
I mean, it was fun, but it's at the same time you're almost kind of like, as a full time officer, you're almost like a babysitter. You kind of have to, because you got to watch over the seasons and make sure they're doing what they need to do and they're doing it the proper way because they're young, So I mean, you get a lot of parties, a lot of disorderlies, a lot of DUIs, just a lot of those kinds of complaints, bar complaints.
Any felonies?
Yeah, once in a while you get like a felony assault, something like that, but nothing. Like I said, not really any weapons. Not really any weapons. They do now. Like I said, things have changed here a little bit now. They get a little more action now, but back then we never really had any problems, really.
So
yeah, because now, we're defunding the police, and so that's going to make everything safer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Cause and effect, yes.
Yeah.
That's why we just don't arrest shoplifters. We let them go because they'll see the error of their ways and they'll quit shoplifting, right?
Yeah, like the one there at Dulles Mall that shot the Loudoun County deputy.
Yeah.
Over freaking shoplifting.
Yeah.
That guy's back on the job now, I understand.
Yeah, I remember that when that happened too. That was over at Costco, I believe, in Sterling. Same one we used to go to.
Yeah, it's right in. Was it Costco or Walmart?
No, I think it was the Costco there. But it was over in that area. But anyway, we digress. First digression, that's our drinking game. If we digress, you guys get to drink. Not you, TJ. Not until we're done. I've seen what happens. You'll start stripping. We're not going to do that. Sorry, pal.
Just don't start talking to him in Russian anymore.
Yeah. No poruska? Yeah, comrade? All right. But so how, in relation to Milford, where's Dewey Beach? How far away are you from your old hometown?
That was about a half hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go from a town. So during the 9 months, what was the population of Dewey Beach? 5,000, 10,000?
During the wintertime?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, no, not even. You probably had 10 full-time residents.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah, man. Dead, man. Because it was a summer beach town that was a mile long. Yeah.
Wow.
10, 20 full-time residents, and then most of them were, most of them were older, so you didn't really have any problems with them. They were,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Didn't any of them, once the old ladies that were hanging around heard about your stripper thing, did you get extra calls, for service at 2 a.m? Can you send that young stripper officer over?
Some pay jobs? No, I never had any of that.
No. Hey, we're a full service agency.
Yeah, that's it.
So, but what you said you finally went to Milford? Was it just that you're just dying of boredom, or what was the final thing that says, I got to get out of here?
Man, I was bored to death, and I wanted more. You know what I mean? I was young, and I wanted to go out and get into shit. I wanted to do SWAT. I wanted to do drugs. I wanted to do K9.
No, you wanted to make drug arrests. You didn't want to do drugs. We tell kids, don't do meth.
You're right, yeah. I wanted to go make drug arrests.
There you go. Words mean things. Yeah. So how tough was it to get onto your own hometown PD? Were you because you'd already been through the academy, so you're already certified, you're already sworn. What was it like getting on, applying for your PD?
It was tough. It took me 2 or 3 times, I think, because they all knew me. They all knew me since I was a kid. So I think there was some hesitation with bringing me on just because they all knew me as a kid. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, hold on. So they knew you
I
as
never
a
got
kid.
in trouble. I never got in trouble as a kid, but I mean, they knew me. You know what I mean? And I was always like, I was a smart ass growing up too. You know what I mean? So
Were they concerned that you just weren't going to be, you were going to make the call when you needed to, like arrest, your old neighborhood buddies, or is that what they were concerned about, or were they just concerned like,
yeah, I think so. I think it was being a hometown. It's hard because and a lot of the guys that worked there were like the older guys, like the administrators. A lot of them were themselves hometown boys to there. But I think that was part of it. It's probably like he's young and he's going to have to come here and work and make effective arrest on people that he knows. I think that was part of the issue. But I like I said, it was my second or third time applying. I had a meeting with the chief and we kind of talked about that a little bit. Like how it was going to be working there, knowing people, and I said I'm ready for the job. So they offered it to me.
Well, the other side of that coin is everybody there. You know who the good guys are, the bad guys. You've got sources that nobody else is going to have access to just because you grew up together. Yeah,
right.
So
it was like that too. It was like that. When I was doing investigations, I knew people.
See, I look at it the other way. I look at it, here's a guy wants to be a cop. He spent 2 years in purgatory. This dude has so much pent up energy right now. Just fucking turn him loose on the town. He's going to arrest everything in sight.
Okay,
yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, I had. You know how it is with young cops, man. Sometimes you just got to tell them to tone it down a little bit. I was like that. I had to tone it down a little bit.
So, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about the first time you had to, let's say, make an arrest on one of your hometown boys. Somebody that knew you. Did you get like, geez, TJ, why are you doing this to me? We're buddies. We're pals.
I got that sometimes, but the first one I ever had, he had actually it was a female. She had a capias for missing court on. It was like a marijuana charge or something. It was something stupid.
Okay, you used a term that we don't. In fact, it's the first time we've used it on the show. No, capias. We used to call it the habeas gravius, but what's a capias in Delaware terms?
So it would be like a warrant issued by the court for missing a trial.
Okay.
Like if you got arrested for drugs and you got a court date and you didn't show up for your court date, then the court would issue you a capias for your arrest, which is basically a warrant.
Or an arrest warrant.
Right.
All right.
It's an arrest warrant issued by the court and not by. Well, they're all issued by the court, but it's not written up by a police department. It's written up and issued by the court themselves.
Okay. So walk that through. So you get the capias. So how did that go?
I mean, I felt bad for her, to be honest with you. I was like, man, sorry, because it was kind of petty. But I was like, you missed your court date. And then she couldn't get bond, so I had to take her to the jail and drop her off at the jail for the weekend. So I kind of felt bad for her, but it was like that. I got a lot of that. I got a lot of stupid things like that. And then eventually it got to the point where it was like, oh man, you know me, and I'm like, yeah, I know you, but what do you want me to do about it, bro?
I know you, and that's the exact reason I'm taking your sorry ass to jail is because I know you.
I mean, because it's not like I was out arresting my friends from high school. I was arresting people that I went to high school with that I didn't necessarily hang out with in high school. You know what I mean?
Did the girl know about your stripper reputation and try to take your shirt off?
No, she didn't know about that one yet. I don't think.
Yet, did your stripper reputation?
Well, I was on FTO when that happened, so I was being supervised.
Okay.
But did your prior stripper altercation end up becoming a topic of interest at the Milford PD?
I can't remember if that came up or not. Be honest,
it will after we air this.
Yeah, I'll be getting a lot of calls after this one for sure.
TJ, remember me? Okay.
Yeah. I'll definitely be getting some calls. Probably from the guys in Dewey, I'm sure.
Well, let's just hope your wife doesn't hear about it and smack you upside the head.
She knows about it. Like I said, I got the newspaper clipping in my scrapbook. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
So let's talk about that was during your field training officer phase. But when you get working, how different was Milford versus Dewey Beach for you?
Oh man, it was night and day. I mean, you're doing police work day in and day out. I mean, you have high crime areas, you have drugs, you have guns, you have violent domestics. I mean, you have everything from misdemeanor petty crimes to full felony. So it was a learning process, but I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was how did they assign you? So how was the town divided up? How did you guys divide up like into precincts or beats or, and then how did you work things?
We had like 5-man shifts, and we had 4 sectors. So they would try to keep like a person in each sector, and then you have like one car as like a rove, which is usually like the sergeant or something.
Mm-hmm. We were divided up into 3 beats with either a sergeant or a lieutenant out there with us. But then we also had a 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift with a couple guys.
Yeah, we were 7 to 7. We were 12s.
Whew.
Yeah, that's tough. I remember when I first started Salina PD, they had a 5-beat system with somebody that roved north and somebody that roved south. So you would have 7 people out on the street, but never had enough people to man the shifts. And so, it ended up being District 1 would drop its borders about 3 blocks. District 2 and 3, the beats would drop down. And then District 4 was like, you had basically 35 to 40% of the entire city. So the new guys, they would stick out there. And I remember the chief walking in one day, says, yeah, we're going to look into the 6-beat system. And one of our smart asses says, maybe we ought to look into the 5-beat system first,
Maybe I'll look at hiring people.
Yeah. Well, they had what they called a safety officer, a rover, safety 1, safety 1, safety 2. So they would cover, but again, as you found out too, right? Never had enough people to staff, even when they said that.
Never.
Yeah. So what are some of the opportunities for you then inside Milford? We're going to get into the shooting and stuff here in a little bit, but it's kind of like we want to walk through it. So everybody starts off on patrol, right? So, but what's the first opportunity you have to do something different other than being on patrol? And what was it?
I was there for about a year and a half, 2 years. And they had some openings on SWAT. So I put in for SWAT, got accepted to that, and went on to, basic SWAT and some advanced SWAT schools. That was my first opportunity.
Now, did you guys have a combined or a regional SWAT team, or was it just did Milford have their own dedicated SWAT team?
We just had our own dedicated team. It was like a part-time team, so you still work your patrols or whatever you had to do and come in as needed. We were more of a warrant team, not so much of hostage rescue or anything like that. It was more of a warrant team, but that we did for drug cases and whatnot, arrest warrants.
So talk about the process of getting on your SWAT team. What was it like? Obviously there's interviews, physical agility, what was it like to train or test for that and get on the team?
We had, you did a little interview, you had some PT test, and then you went through a selection process where the team would have you tried out, and it had to be a unanimous decision for you to get accepted. So if there was one nay vote on you, you're done. You could try again another time. So I think at that time, I think there was 2 openings, and I think there was like 4 of us that put in. I think so. I got one of the slots.
How did you get the slot? What differentiated you from the 2 that didn't?
I mean, if I had to take a guess, I would say my work ethic. I mean, I was pretty running and gunning on patrol, and I think that carried over to some decision making.
And you look like at that time too. You just looking at a couple of pictures too. We'll talk about the canine stuff, but it looked like. Did you do like athletics in high school? Were you still pretty physically fit then?
Yeah, I mean, I played sports year round in high school. Baseball, football, all that, track. And then I didn't work out as much in my 20s, but I still stayed in somewhat good shape. As I got older, I got more into fitness, which we'll get into later. But I was in decent shape. Yeah, it wasn't like the physical agility test wasn't a problem or anything like that.
So you said you went to like a basic and then later an advanced school. Is that something? Did you go? Did the department put it on, or did you go out for training like Delaware State Police or? Out
for training, yeah. I went to a county police department's basic SWAT school. And then the advance was put on by an outside entity. It was GTI, Government Training Institute. I think they're out of Carolina. They put on they came to Delaware for a while and put on it was like a month-long advanced SWAT course. It was 4 weeks. So I attended that for a month. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
An entire month. I mean, that's an investment.
Yeah, a lot of it was based around like hostage rescue stuff and everything. It was pretty interesting course. It was a lot of fun. You did rappelling and all kinds of stuff. It was neat.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was neat. It was a lot of fun.
What's the biggest building to rappel off in Milford?
Probably like a Dunkin' Donuts or something.
Well, we're there already anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
Hey, while we're here, let's go up on the roof.
Coming in through the windows.
Right. Yeah. Not that I'd ever use that, but it was a lot of fun to do it and train with it, get certified. It was cool.
Yeah.
And if our listeners are wondering if the connection between cops and donuts is true, absolutely.
Yeah, right. Rappelling into the window, man. Get me in there.
That's why it's called a drive-through.
That's it.
Come right in. So talking about your SWAT stuff, when was the first chance you had an opportunity to use your new SWAT skills?
When I first got on the team, we were pretty active. I mean, we were probably doing, for us, we were active. We were probably doing like 2 hits a month. So that's pretty good for a part-time team. Because we had a pretty active drug unit that was always trying to stay busy and get into stuff. So it kept us pretty busy.
Do you have your own? How were you guys assigned? Were you guys assigned cars, take-home cars, pool cars?
Assigned cars. Well, yeah, you had assigned cars every day you came in. We didn't have take-homes unless you were like detective or K9, something like that.
So, but even as SWAT, you guys didn't have your own take-home cars?
No, personal vehicles. Yeah.
So what was it like to, you get a call out, right? So now, I mean, most of those were planned, but how often were you called out for other stuff, incidents like, a critical incident or anything like that?
Most of the time we got called in, it was for if we had an arrest warrant, they knew where a guy was, they wanted us to go in there and grab him. They would call us in, and you try to get there as quick as you could. It didn't happen too often. Most of our hits that we had were planned. There were a few that we had to come in for, pretty hastily, but most of them are planned out.
Did you carry your gear in the trunk of your cruiser when you were on duty?
Yeah, we carried most of it, like your vest and all that kind of stuff. The basics we keep in our trunk if we could.
Any extra weapons? Sorry, Morgan.
Okay.
Yeah, we had long guns. All of our cars, all the patrol cars have long guns in them. So you always had that with you.
Here's something I'm going to assume that you probably did, because I did it when you get all your gear on. Did you ever weigh yourself just in your undies and then put everything on and weigh yourself to see how much crap you're actually carrying?
I don't know if I ever did that or not. It was probably a lot of crap, though. I can tell you that's a lot of shit to carry around.
I'll tell you this, TJ. I was a cop for 38 years, and I never even thought of doing that. Now, where the hell is this going, Morgan?
One of those guys, I got to know. I weighed myself one day, then I put everything on, and it was like an extra 20 pounds. And that's back in my day, between the vest, the gun, the belt, and everything. And it's like, and no wonder, it's like I was bending over, and it's like, man, it was really hurting. Finally went in. I'd never seen a chiropractor before. He put me down, took an x-ray, and he showed me my hips. One hip was like, at eye level. The other one was about 2 inches below eye level. It's like, this is the reason why it hurts. It was on my gun side. He got me on that table, one of those spring-loaded things, did a push down, and I heard a like that. And it's like my hip popped back into place. I'm like, I can walk again. I mean, this felt good.
Well, that's why you see a lot of guys going to vest now, that outer carrier, because it gets it off your hips.
Yeah. It does. So
I actually I had the same thing. Just when I was a city cop, was picked up a guy on the street and didn't resist or anything. Put him in the cage in the back seat, and then I sat down and I couldn't breathe. I just caught my back, and it just so happened one of our police commission members was a chiropractor. I got up to the station. They called him. He came out in the middle of the night, met me in the office, and did the same thing he did to you, Morgan, and it just straightened everything right back up.
This is a small thing, but the other thing I learned, I quit carrying my wallet in my back pocket. I haven't carried my wallet in my back pocket for 35 years, I think. I just put it in the front. One. Yeah, because you didn't realize till you see one of those George Costanza wallets that's about 3 inches thick, and the guy's pulling it out of his back pocket. Well, no wonder you got fucking back problems.
That's a cop wallet, because you're carrying around that fucking tin in there, and you got your credit cards and your cash. I mean, goddamn, the thing's the size of a brick.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, and if you get shot in the ass, it might stop a bullet there, but that's about
true.
Or prevent an ass.
I didn't take any in the ass though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, glad to know you clarified you've never taken it in the ass. That's good to know for this podcast.
Move along here.
Hey, I just report the facts. He said it.
That's it. I had to clarify it.
True confessions.
Yeah, so, hey, but so how long? So, I mean, but you moved up. So the variety. What did you do after SWAT? So did you stay doing SWAT and then move on to something else like K9 or investigations, or what'd you do later?
So since our SWAT was a part-time team, so I stayed on that through my career. And then my next step after that was canine, which is a full-time position.
Yeah, we're seeing a picture of you with the old reliable Crown Vic there. You've got the short hair and you've got that dog. Who was that dog?
That's Hank, Henk.
Was that your
German
first dog?
Shepherd. Well, yeah, I had a. So now, I'm going back. Between Dewey Beach and Milford, I had one other stop at another agency for about a year and a half.
What was that?
Camden, Delaware.
Okay.
I was there for about a year and a half, and I had a yellow lab there for drug work. And it was kind of just like the agency was just kind of a pit stop. I wanted to get out of Dewey, so I went there while I was kind of hoping to get on to Milford, and so I left. I got a job offer from Milford and left there.
So did you go through your canine training then originally in Camden? Or did they just kind of give you a dog and go, hey, go sniff some drugs?
No, I had canine training there.
So you said it was a yellow lab. Was it a meth lab? But sorry, I killed myself.
I didn't come across any of the meth labs, but
So, but in terms of Milford, so Hank was your first dog. Was it a Mal?
Yeah.
What was it?
Shepherd.
Shepherd?
Yeah. Yep. German Shepherd. Yeah.
Is that the one you have pictures? I saw a lot of pictures on your website and online. It's black.
Yeah.
That's a pretty dog.
Yeah.
That's a pretty. That's
he was beautiful, man. I love that dog. Yeah, he was awesome. Love that dog.
So, what was he trained for when you got Hank? What was he trained for?
So he was narcotics and patrol work.
How often did you get to use him?
I spent 6 years on the road with him. I think he had bite apprehensions. I think he had 6 or 7. And then as far as total apprehensions is with, bites and then, non-bites, like tracks and locating someone, I think I was like 96 apprehensions, 96, 97. Yeah, in 6 years. So I was very successful with him. And it wasn't, I was doing my part, but he was just a great dog, man. I got lucky and got a really, really good dog. He was a tracking machine.
Yeah. And how long was your training with him for canine? Did you have to go through a course again, or did your previous training carry over?
No, I went through a whole nother course. It was 6 months. 6 months training course with him for both, drug certification and patrol work.
So 6 months you were gone doing this training?
Yeah.
So you're gone 4 weeks for SWAT. When did you actually do any police work?
I didn't do anything.
Guys, can't handle the call. I'm on training again.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, and I'll say it again later. But as you'll see, I was, for being from an agency, especially an agency that size, I was very, very fortunate in my career. I got to do a lot of really, really cool things.
Really,
and that's one of the great things about that. Yeah.
I started out a small agency like that, and it was, if you made it to detective, that was a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. I was kind of a big deal then. As Ron Burgundy said, I don't want to,
I think
kind of a big deal.
I think you might have been the token guy they made the detective,
Why, the one still with all his hair and could still fit into his pants, probably.
Well, the one on the short yellow bus, and they felt sorry for you.
Tough crowd.
Dude, you can take this. As we determined, right? So,
yeah.
But you said for 6 years. Well, what happened with Hank? Did he just retire, or something happen?
Yeah, it was July 4th. I was on day work with him, and on the way home from work, it was about that time. I was about 20 minutes. Because I don't live in the city of Milford. I lived outside. I was about 20 minutes outside the city, and he got sick on the way home, like throwing up in the back seat, and I thought, he's just hacking up a hairball or something like he usually does, Then I got home, and he didn't want to get out of the car. I had to get him out of the back, put him in his kennel. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, just very lethargic. So I called our vet. They have an on-call number. I called them and took him in there, and they're like, oh, he's dehydrated. We'll get some fluids in him, and we'll watch him every night. You can pick him up tomorrow. Okay. So I'd leave him there. That was probably like, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And then about 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from the vet saying he's gone into some sort of shock, and I got to take him into surgery and see what's going on with him. And then about 10 minutes later, I got a call saying he didn't make it. Their best guess was he was ate up with cancer pretty bad inside.
Oh.
Then he just came out of nowhere and just took him. So that was a devastating point in my career. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. How long did you had him?
6 years.
Oh my
6
gosh.
years, yeah. And it's when you have a job like that with a dog, it's not, it's your life revolves around that dog. Your schedule, all at work and out of work, revolves around that dog. So, it's life changing when you lose a canine partner. It really is. It changes your work schedule, changes your life, your family, it changes everything.
Yeah, we had a number of canine officers on, several in Texas, and then was it the guy in Alpharetta, Georgia, outside Mark Tappan, with Alpharetta PD, and that's the same thing they say. In fact, Mark has a huge following on social media, and he's still on there every day with his dogs.
Yeah,
it's just it's his kids, his family, and the dogs are part of the family.
It's a great job. It's the most rewarding job I have. It's very, very, very rewarding. Yeah, I loved it.
Plus, you got a partner you can trust 100%.
100%, man. I mean, I didn't like him in the beginning. He was kind of an asshole when I first got him. I
was there him shock one asshole, one smart ass meets another.
Yeah, my wife will tell you. I couldn't stand him. You know, what I mean, he was a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But then, we got it. We graduated the academy, got out on the road, and we were on the road for a couple months. And I stopped a guy one night, suspicious person, in a high crime area. Stopped him. I get out of my car. I make contact with him on the sidewalk. And as I'm making contact with him, the guy throws a punch. And I back up to miss it. And I tripped over the curb and fell down.
Uh-huh.
The guy jumps on top of me, like, kind of UFC style. He wants to, beat the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. So we have the door pops for the dog, So I reached down to my belt, hit the door pop. Out he came, and he just lit this guy up, man. Yeah. And ever since that moment, that dog was my fucking hero. And I knew no matter what happened to me, that dog had my back, and I fell in love with him right then and there.
I bet that dog was trying to bust the window out to get out and help you.
He was going nuts, man. It was freaking awesome. Coolest thing ever.
And one of the things we learned from talking to canine officers, you got to be careful because that dog, when it gets things, it's looking for anything. So it's
anything,
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he bit me a number of times. Yeah. I think he sent me to the hospital twice for stitches.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a mean son of a bitch, man. I loved him. God, I loved him. Yeah.
Now, was that because you had hands on the bad guy when the dog hit, or
no? He would get mad at you. Like, he would just get mad at you, and it wouldn't be like he wouldn't like grab onto me and like throw me around. He would, like, if I took his toy away after we played, he would just kind of look at me and just bite me real quick, and I'm like, "You motherfucker!" You know what I mean? Yeah. So we had quite a few wrestling matches, but it was a love-hate relationship. So yeah.
Hey, now, that guy that he hopped out and lit up, did the guy learn a lesson?
Yeah, I think. Well, he tore his pants off of him. Yeah, he typewritered him up all the way up his leg, up his side, and his arm.
What is that term?
Typewriter.
Yeah,
he just gnawed him all the way up his body. Yeah. It was cool. Yeah.
Love it.
Good times.
In Delaware at that time, as we found from talking to some of the other canine officers, but do dogs, or did they at that time have a special law enforcement status? So if you attacked a police dog, was that a certain kind of crime?
Yeah. It was a assault on a police canine. Yeah. I locked a few people up for that, actually. Actually, one of them, I locked the guy up for it. I think it was a vehicle pursuit, and the guy bailed out on me, and I sent Hank after him, and he caught him. And when I got over there, the guy was just pummeling him, like just throwing blows on his head. And so I locked him up for assault on the canine.
Was that a misdemeanor or felony?
It was a felony. It was felony assault.
Good.
So he went to jail, and then like a few months later, I got a letter in the mail from the Attorney General's office addressed to Hank as a victim. That he was that the guy was getting out of jail, like a notification, like this guy's getting released. I still have a letter. It's pretty cool. So I kept that. Yeah.
So how's the dog supposed to fucking read a letter?
Smart dog. I guess Dad read it to him. I read it to him. So it was, I don't know if he understood it or not. But
did you use a different language for commands with Hank?
Yeah, I used what did I use then? I used
Belgian or German or Czech.
I think it was Czech I used. I can't remember now, but yeah, it was a different language. Yeah.
Have you heard of Canines for Cops out of Texas?
I don't think so.
We had the Christy Schiller founded that, and she's not in law enforcement, but she supports law enforcement. How many dogs have they put out? Like 300 dogs?
And they raise money. Agencies don't pay for their dogs. They raise the money and they get them there. You have to agree to take care of it, but they help raise the money. And it all started very similar to what you were saying. She saw an article, and we actually had the officer on where his dog was attacked and killed by a guy when they were out chasing a couple guys. He basically choked him out. And she felt so bad about that. She started this whole foundation, and they have raised millions of dollars. Like I said, put 300 dogs in. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's just, dogs are awesome too. They are the only animals that love you more than they love themselves.
Yeah. They're a great tool in law enforcement, man. They're a phenomenal tool to have. They really are.
Absolutely.
Well, let's start talking about then your progression, because you're doing K9. At what point in your career, what happens after K9? Because what we want to do is kind of get this glide path going into getting onto the U.S. Marshals Task Force. Sure. So where do you go from there? How long do you do that? What comes next?
So Hank passes. I ended up, going to my administration, to my chief. I wanted another dog, obviously, and I got denied for another dog. Reason being was they felt that K9 for me had run its course, and I was one of the more senior guys, getting to be one of the more senior guys in the agency, and it was time for me to move on to something else and give someone else a chance. So I didn't like hearing that. So they offered me, I could go back to patrol and be an assistant shift commander, or I could take a drug unit spot. Well, I took the latter, so I went to drug unit. Yeah.
But looking back on that, though, I know you were pissed off at the time, but did you see that as good career advice for you to say, hey, look, you've got to expand your skills. You don't want to be pigeonholed?
Yeah. It was the right call for them to make. It was the right call for them to make. Someone else deserved a chance at it, and I needed to do something else. When you get a position like K9, you're there for 6-10 years.
Yeah, for the life of the dog, basically.
Yeah. You can spend half your career or your whole career in K9. 2 dogs last your whole career sometimes if they live long enough. And there was a lot of guys. Because it's a small agency, and we only had 2 K9 spots, so a lot of guys want that spot. So I didn't like it. But I got over it. I learned eventually as I grew and matured a little more in my career that was definitely the right decision to make.
So you go down to the drug unit. Now, are you then promoted or moved into the position of detective or investigator? Or are you still a patrol officer?
So you're now a detective when you go to the drug unit. Yeah. And our agency, like I said, is small. So like our drug unit consists of one person. Sometimes you'll have like a second person, like a part-time second person. So you rely a lot on outside agencies, neighboring agencies, state police to help you out a lot.
Were you part of a task force back then?
No, we didn't have like a drug task force then. It was just
Steve,
like a
what the hell? DEA's falling down on the job. Why didn't you guys have a fucking DEA task force in Milford, Delaware?
Let me back. There is the DEA task force, but we didn't have anybody assigned to that task force. There was a DEA task force.
There you go.
Yes. There was a DEA task force. So like I said, I relied on a lot of neighboring agencies to help out.
So what did your standard what were you working? What was the soup du jour for the type of cases you were working, and how did you go about making them? Because obviously, if being a hometown boy, it's going to be kind of hard to work undercover.
Yeah. So, I did the whole grow your hair out thing and all that stuff, and it worked, because not everybody knew me. And, you kind of like, I would go help other agencies and do some undercover buys, and then I would have them come help me out, kind of, scratch your back, I'll scratch yours, So
bringing a fresh face, somebody that they don't know.
Yeah, bringing fresh faces and stuff, and not just doing directs, but like changing your appearance helps out on surveillance and stuff like that too. So, but a lot of the things I handle, because like I said, it's small. You're short staffed. You got one person, maybe two. You're calling guys in, patrol guys in on their days off to help you out. So a lot of my investigations were street level investigations. A lot of heroin, crack cocaine, some handguns.
Did you ever go undercover as a stripper?
No, I went undercover quite a few times as a John. I did that a lot. Yeah, for prostitution, I did a lot of that.
He went undercover against the Russian mob.
The Russian mob.
Yeah.
Bratva.
No stripper undercover. Just picking up some strippers as a John. I did that quite a few times. That's fun.
Yeah. Were they? Was that based out of the clubs or street, or how was contact made in those cases?
Street. Yeah, walking the street. Yeah, you just approach them on the street and do your deal, and someone come in and take them off. Yeah. Yeah. It was fun.
So, but when you were working those cases and stuff, what did you see getting introduced into your community over that time? Because you talked about like crack, heroin or stuff like that. Did you see the prevalence? Did meth start coming into your community? Did other things?
Yeah, I see meth once in a while. It wasn't that prevalent. I didn't see that much of it. It was mainly, everyone's got marijuana, obviously, which isn't really a big deal now anyway. You get heroin and crack cocaine were probably my two things. And once in a while, you'll come across some pills and stuff still. People are still into that. But for me, it was heroin and crack. Yeah.
Did you ever come across any fentanyl during that time?
Oh, yeah, fentanyl. Everything I got had fentanyl in it. I feel like everything had fentanyl in it. Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Oh, yeah, man. I don't think I ever came across heroin that wasn't laced with fentanyl. It was hard to, definitely more times than not, for sure.
Wow, no kidding. What years was this?
2000, let's see.
Remember, you're under oath, detective.
2018, 19, 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting up to the point of where you start joining the task force, right?
Yeah. I did both jobs at the same time, actually.
So how did the U.S. Marshals Task Force come about?
So I was in drugs for about a year. Not even a year, actually. I was there for... You
mean you were working drugs? You weren't into drugs for a year.
Right, yeah. I was working in the drug unit for about, I don't know, it's probably 6 months. And the conversation, I met some guys from the Marshals Task Force. They helped our agency out with some fugitives we've had, and so I got to meet them. And the guys were all cool. I knew a couple of the guys a little bit already. So I started talking to my administration about task forces, and they're like, okay, well, DEA, ATF, and everything. I said, I'm going to do something different. I'm doing a lot of drug work, and I'm the only one doing it. Like, I would like to do something else, and I kind of put it as the marshals can help me, because now if I go out and I'm doing deals, I'm getting arrest warrants. Now I got the marshals to help me serve those arrest warrants, right?
You got your own SWAT team.
I got my own SWAT team. That's kind of how I sold it. So they bid on it, and they got the paperwork, filled it out, sent it to the marshals. Marshals did their background and all that, and took me on.
How long of a process was that?
I think from start to finish, a couple months. I think a few months for them to get 3-4 months maybe to get me on there. Yeah.
Everybody I've ever met from the Marshal Service on those teams was fantastic. Just kick-ass, take names kind of guys.
It was great. It was great, man. Like I said, I always tell everybody. Everybody always asks me, like, what you have more? What you like most? And K9 was always the most rewarding, because you got out of it what you put into it. The most fun I had in my career was, without a doubt, with the Marshal Service. It was a phenomenal job. It was awesome. Yeah.
Now, did you keep that long ass hippie hair, or did you have to cut it?
I did. I kept the hippie hair, so a little bit. Now,
did that cause some problems when you were throwing on? Because this is one thing I wanted to ask about, lead into what we're going to talk about with the shooting. Did that lead into problems with identification, to where you got somebody who doesn't look like a marshal but wearing stuff that says U.S. Marshals, Police, Task Force? No,
we never had that problem. Like, a lot of the guys on the unit didn't have long hair like me, but they all had some facial hair, some beards and whatnot for undercover surveillance and whatnot, plain clothes. So it wasn't really much of a problem now.
So how long was your hair?
At one point, I had it down to my chest, all the way down in my chest here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not quite as long as Chris Feistel was it, Murph?
Oh, geez. He almost had it down to his waist, I think.
I think he had it down to the crack of his ass. I mean, if he took a shower, I think the hair would have tickled the crack of his ass.
Yeah. I had it pretty long for a while, and then eventually I ended up cutting it just kind of to below my ear a little bit, so I kept it a little shorter.
It's a pain in the butt. Everything
everybody thinks
it's cool.
It was a pain in the butt. Yeah, my wife liked it a little shorter, so I kept it on the shorter side a little bit. Yeah,
I had mine down to my shoulders when I was in Miami, and it's hot.
It's hot. You got to put it back in the man bun, and everybody makes fun of you for the man bun.
What? You put your hair in a man bun?
You got to, man. You got to get that stuff out of the way.
Podcast's over. Anybody who does a man bun, I'm sorry, man.
You shouldn't have told us that.
Man,
we're old.
Man, when you're working out in the gym, you got to get that stuff out of your face. You know what I mean? So you put it on back there.
That's what a ball cap's for.
Oh, Skippy. Man, too hot. Yeah.
So what were some of the fun things you got into with the marshals? So was some of it was just your stuff, or how much of it did you get pulled into versus stuff that was initiated by you?
So I mean, you're assigned to it pretty much. I mean, it's a small state, so I think in the whole task force, I want to say we have 15 guys, I think, and then on the lower end of the state, there's 3 counties in Delaware. So my team was pretty much assigned to the lower 2 counties, and my team we had 4 guys on our team. Now, if you went and did an operation, you would call other guys to help you. You know what I mean? But our investigations were our 4-man team. So you pretty much just start your day out, with your team. Like, what does everybody have going on today? What do we need to work on? And you kind of go off.
Did you work off-site or out of the police station, or where'd you guys post out of?
Man, pretty much we worked out of our cars all the time. I mean, if we had paperwork to do, we would go like, the nearest police department or nearest state police troop, and work out of there for a while. But I mean, you had carte blanche to just run around the state and do your job that you need to do. So it was nice.
You sound like a trooper. Get to run around the state and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, do whatever you want. As long get your job, whatever you got to do to get your job done, get it done, man. It was
I noticed the name of the task force was called the First State Fugitive Task Force because you guys were cool. The first state, huh?
Correct. Number 1, baby. Number 1.
Did you guys, so as a municipal officer, did you have reciprocal agreements with other agencies and counties? So you had pretty much jurisdiction throughout the state, or how'd that work?
Yeah, we had jurisdiction throughout the state because the marshals swear you in federally.
But I mean, before the Marshals Task Force, when you were just Milford PD.
Oh yeah. When I got into the drug unit, I was sworn in for statewide jurisdiction because of drug investigations. Drug investigations usually carry over, obviously, so that you get statewide jurisdiction with that. Now, just as an officer with your agency, like a patrol guy, you're limited to your boundaries of jurisdiction. Yeah.
And so in this particular instance, you guys are working stuff. Let's start talking now about what happened to you on December 10th, 2020. So, I mean, how long had you been before the shooting happened? How long had you been on the Marshals Fugitive Task Force?
It's about 2 or 3 years, I think. Something like that, 2 or 3 years.
Had you had anything really hairy happen up until that point?
Yeah, I mean, we were very, very active, like running and gunning task force. I mean, if there was something to get into, we were going to find it and get into it. We loved it. We loved getting into stuff. So we always ran across, some hairy situations. We always found guns on people. But it's all about element of surprise, right? So we were very fortunate where we never ran into a situation where anyone was able to, pull a weapon out on us. So we were all, we were lucky with that. So we never really I would say we had some close calls with coming across from weapons and stuff, but nothing. We never had any other shootings before this.
So let's start setting the stage then for this too, because you guys, depending on what state things are coming in from, you guys are fielding leads from other states, or other locations. Hey, we think we got a fugitive there. We're looking for somebody we think might be in your area. So on this particular case, and just for folks to know, we've all agreed, and even TJ does it too. We're not giving the piece of shit airtime. He will be referred to henceforth as POS. Mm-hmm. So in the terms of this POS, what was your first contact with this case? How did you start finding out about this?
So yeah, I mean, it was a normal work day. Went to work, did our thing, and then I ended it. Got home at a pretty good time, like around 5:00 or so.
And then when you said in relation to the December 10th, how far back in time does this go?
2020.
No, I mean in terms of December 10th. Like, was it December 8th or December 7th? How many days prior did you guys start getting information on this case?
That night.
Oh, that night?
Yeah, that night. So what happened was had a normal day at work, didn't know anything about it yet. Came home, getting dinner ready with the family. and we operate off like group text messages. So our supervisor put out a group text wanting to know availability for an operation in the morning. Pennsylvania called down, said they had a lead on a guy wanted out of Reading for attempted homicide, and he was thought to. They had intel that he was at this hotel in Rehoboth Beach.
And how far is Rehoboth Beach from where you are?
From where I was living at that time, this hotel was about 10 minutes at that time. My wife and I were in between homes. We sold a house and we were just breaking ground on a new home, and we were living with my in-laws. So at the time, it was about 10 minutes from the hotel. So the plan is to see the availability for the morning. Pennsylvania is going to come down, meet us, and we're going to go and see if we can locate this guy there and make contact. So my thought is, well, I'm 10 minutes from that hotel. Give me the vehicle description. I'll hustle on over there, see if I can get eyes on it, and just verify that this guy is probably there. Because no one's seen him there yet. Pennsylvania has some intel on it, right? Whatever the intel may be.
Here's the question, though. But you might go out and you say you want to put eyes on, but if you see him there and spot him there, are you committed then to staying and doing surveillance, or is it just enough to determine that, hey, he's there and we'll come back in the morning still?
It's just enough to determine that he's there. But I'm not that kind of guy, so we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah,
because shit's going to go south pretty fast here.
Yeah. So I go out, take up a spot in the parking lot, see the car, verify the tag number, call the supervisor back. Hey, man, vehicle's here, confirmed. I'm looking at it now. He's like, all right, cool. As I'm on the phone with him, POS steps out. He's got a girlfriend and 2 small kids with him.
Steps out from the room or the car?
Steps out from the hotel.
Okay. And is this one of those motor inns where the doors face the outside like you see the motels?
No, you can go in. There's like a lobby you go in. It's a Econo Lodge. I don't know if you're familiar with like an Econo Lodge setup. It's a piece of shit hotel, but you got to walk in to go to your rooms. So he walks out. He's getting in the car. I'm not going to do anything by myself. I'm not that crazy. So I let him know on the phone, hey, guy's walking out right now. I snap a photo of him and send it up so they can, just verify the tag and him and everything. Let the guy go.
When this POS comes out, is he actively looking for surveillance? Is he looking around? Do you get any indication that he thinks he's hinky at all about what's happening?
No, I didn't get any. I didn't notice him looking around too much. He was pretty much beeline to the car. So I let him roll. I let him leave the parking lot. I wasn't concerned about it because he didn't have any luggage in his hand. So I knew he wasn't leaving for good. They were going to come back at some point. You know what I mean?
Hey players, that is the end of part 1. Part 2 comes out, as always, on Tuesday. In the meantime, go check us out at Game of Crimes on Twitter, at Game of Crimes Podcast on Facebook and the Instagram. Also, go check out our website, gameofcrimespodcast.com. We've got a lot more information there, including our book list. Any book written by our guests will be listed there. In the meantime, go check us out also, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. It's where we put a lot more content you won't hear on our regular podcast. We go into a lot more topics, and folks, it is a lot of fun. So go check us out, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. In the meantime, everybody stay safe. We'll see you tomorrow for part 2.